All right, you've got your vision locked in. You know what your dream life and business actually look like. Now it's time to start building the machine that gets you there, and that starts with systems. So let's be real for a second. Most entrepreneurs want to skip this part. They want to automate, hire, and scale all before fixing what's already broken. But here's the truth: building a mansion on quicksand doesn't work. And there's a quote that I want you to remember throughout this module: automating chaos just scales chaos. If your backend is a mess, if your SOPs are unclear, if your CRM is clunky, your lead flow isn't trackable, then automating or delegating will only make things worse. This is the module where we fix all of that. Why systems first? Let's talk about why this matters. Systems are how you create repeatable results. They're how you scale without losing control, and they're how you eventually replace yourself in the business. There's a saying I love: you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Here's the right order of operations. Scaling the right way means doing things in the right order. That order looks like this. First, we document. Write down exactly how something is done or performed in as much detail as possible. Two, you systemize it, organize it into repeatable steps or tools, and then automate and delegate. Only when it's clean, it's a proven process, and it's consistent. If a random person, let's say your best friend or your partner, couldn't follow your instructions and get the job done on their own, you're not ready to scale it. Here are some key ways to lock in your systems. Let's break it down exactly how to do this. There are 4 core actions that will make your systems rock solid. So, first off is the time audit. This is where you identify where your bottlenecks lie. Start by tracking your time in 1-hour blocks for a full week. And then ask yourself, where am I spending the most time that isn't driving revenue? What tasks drain my energy instead of fueling momentum? For example, if you're spending an hour a day in your email inbox, that's a low ROI task. It's time consuming and it keeps you from higher level responsibilities. Number 2, core offer clarity. Can you explain it in 2 words? Here's my simple rule. Simple scales, complexity kills momentum. If you can't define your business's offer in 2 to 3 words, it's probably too complicated to scale. Here's a bad example. We offer a wide range of lawn maintenance services, including mowing, edging, fertilizing, weed control, and seasonal cleanups tailored for your property. That's too long, too hard to remember. It will just go in one ear and out the other. But if you wanted that same business to be known for yard revival, that's short, that's memorable, and that's shareable. Number 3, you could define your primary funnel focus. This is where we choose one pipeline, especially when we're starting out. Do not chase 5 marketing strategies at once. Pick one channel, go deep, and track all your metrics. Scale that channel before you even think about adding more. So, for example, if your business does cold outreach, don't do emails, don't do texts, don't do DMs and calls all at once. It's just too much. Pick the one you believe is most effective and master it. Then scale it to the moon before testing another funnel. And then the last strategy I would recommend is lead tracking. So from first touch to close deal, this is the backbone of any strong sales system. No lead should ever fall through the cracks again. Your CRM should have all the following. It should have trigger follow-ups. It should have assigned tasks to people. It should give you visibility on every stage of your pipeline. And to get this right, you need to start by mapping the entire lead journey from first contact to close of a lead. So how do you get started with this? I would start by asking, what are all the possible outcomes for a singular lead? And then once you identify all of those possible outcomes, do you have a defined stage in your CRM for each one of them? Does each stage have a clear definition and a next action task? So, for example, maybe your first stage is new lead, not contacted yet. And they might have came from cold outreach, maybe DMs on Instagram. The task associated for that could be double dial within 5 minutes, and if they don't answer the phone, send them a follow-up text with a Calendly link. Once that task is completed in your CRM, the lead must move to the next stage and be given a new set of instructions to follow consistently. That's how you ensure nothing slips through the cracks. And a general rule of thumb should be, if you can't explain a process in extreme detail, it's not ready to be automated or delegated. Let's talk about the 10-year-old test. It's a simple but powerful benchmark. So if you handed a task in your business off to a 10-year-old, maybe you have a smaller cousin, maybe you have a kid that's that age, whoever it might be, could they execute that task without asking you multiple follow-up questions about how to do it? If not, your system isn't clear enough. That's the level of simplicity we're aiming for in your business. Because once your business is truly systemized, you can easily hire VAs to run operations, easily automate large chunks of workflow, and you could easily focus on growth instead of putting out fires constantly. So here's the case study for this module. During my land flipping business, I made the mistake of scaling too early. I was trying to do too much. I was cold calling. I was emailing leads. I was doing SMS blasts, all before I had a cleaned CRM or dialed in any of my SOPs. And the result, I lost leads. I confused my team members. I had broken automations that I wasn't even aware of. And eventually, I had to strip it all back to one marketing funnel, which I chose to be SMS texting. From there, I started to rebuild every SOP. I cleaned up the CRM, and I tracked every lead in every stage. And that's when I was finally able to scale with confidence. I highly recommend don't make the same mistake I did. Get the foundation right before you try to start to grow. So homework and deliverables for this module. I would highly recommend you do a time audit for your week. Break down where you used your time in the highest ROI activities and figure out specifically which activities were taking away from those high ROI tasks. I would clarify your 2-word core offer for your business. If it's hard to define in 2 words, you likely have to change something up. I would choose one marketing and sales funnel, with the caveat that if you've been doing it for a while and you have already scaled to the point you don't need that, that's fine. But if you're a new entrepreneur, make sure you are really dialed in on one marketing funnel to start out with prior to trying to do other ones. Then I would also map out your lead journey from first contact to closing the lead to understand where all of your leads could lie on the spectrum from start to finish. And then finally, start documenting any repeatable process with SOPs. And we'll talk more about that in the coming modules. But remember, keep it simple and keep it scalable. In the next module, we'll layer automation and delegation on top of the systems you just built.